Welcome, and I'd like to talk to you today about the nightmare that is called scheduling. Now, I find scheduling to be one of the most challenging parts of my job. People might not think it's so easy. You just, put people on for shift. But there are so many areas that scheduling can go wrong. You might schedule not enough people for the shift. You might schedule too much people. You might be sending people into overtime, which, really dives into the business's income or overhead. So let's start with just some things that I think you should really make sure that you do when you're making a schedule. And the first one is to make sure that you have enough shifts for each staff. Make sure that you're giving them adequate staffing. Now, it can be challenging, especially with a new restaurant or a slower establishment where you're trying to turn things around, trying to start making money, and you're not at that point yet. It's challenging, but you want to be fair as possible. Making sure you're not giving the staff too many doubles or giving them an opening, or let's say, you don't want to give somebody a breakfast shift or a lunch shift right after a closing or a double. You want to make sure they come in refreshed and ready to work. Days off requests, making sure that you take note of these, write them down, and if you can't give the staff these days off, make sure you let them know that you can't get the shifts covered. Now, another one is making sure that you have enough staff per shift. If you don't have enough staff on a Friday night, your life is going to be hell. I can guarantee you that. Your Friday night, you're doing 300, 400 covers, and you're 2 servers down. It's not a happy recipe. Now, for my 7 tips on how to improve your scheduling or how to make it easier for you, for the first one is to use a master schedule. Now, this one most of you guys are probably already doing. Just keep a copy of the schedule with the staff names, their availability, the requests off, vacation days, who's the stronger and the weaker ones, who's, for example, I've worked places with multiple concept, fine dining and a casual dining. You want to mark and say, okay, these people are better in this dining room, these people are maybe have it there. This really helps as well, like if you want to take a vacation and you want to hand off writing the schedule to somebody else, so they can just kind of go in there and look at and see what the scheduling, and then setting up guidelines on how the schedule should be written. Now, that can include one of my rules, which is schedule by the 2-by-1 law. The 2-by-1 law for me is where you schedule 2 strong for every weak person. So you want to make sure that you are covering yourself on that. So when I'm writing my floor plan as well, I do that. So I'll have in let's say section 1, I have a strong senior member, and then in the center I have a new weaker member, and then section 3 I have a strong senior member again. So it kind of bridges those 3 sections, and the 2 seniors can really help out the junior member there, and I find that really helps. And you want to start thinking about that early on. You want to have that already in your scheduling. You can even go as far as to start assigning sections in your scheduling. Now, scheduling requests, I always like to remind my staff and let them know up front that a schedule request is just a request. It's not guaranteed. I've had plenty of staff come to me and say, hey, I request this day off. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, well, you requested it. It's a request. It's not guaranteed. The house always wins. That's what I tell everybody. The house always wins, because if there's no house, there's no job for you. So that's the way it works. I always try my best to accommodate any requests. If I can't, I let them know as soon as possible, and then say, hey, if you really need the day off, what you can do, try to find somebody to cover for you. And generally they can figure that out there. Make sure you're not scheduling too much. So don't overschedule your staff members. Make sure that they're getting sufficient time off. So this, I always like to say that try to give 2 days off in a row. We all know how hard it is to get things done if you have only 1 day off. You get that 1 day off, you sleep in, you wake up, you watch YouTube, watch the TV, watch, soap opera in the middle of the day or something. Then you go have lunch, and then you do some laundry, and your day's done. You're not refreshed. But if you have 2 days off in a row, that first day you can sleep in, do whatever, and day 2 you can get stuff done and come in day 3 ready to work. Or you could do it the opposite. work hard the first day and the second day sleep in, whatever it may be. But I find the staff members are much, much happier if they get those scheduled 2 days off as often as possible. Make sure you're setting criteria for your scheduling. For if you have to hand off the scheduling, set kind of your guidelines on how you like to schedule, just to ensure that when you hand off scheduling, many times I find when I hand off scheduling to somebody else, it's a mess. They don't know, they're not familiar with the staff members. Even when I've taken over scheduling, many times I go into a job and they're just kind of like, okay, you're the new manager, you have to do scheduling. And you're sitting there like, okay, I don't know anything. You know, and then staff member are angry because, you know, oh, that day he had a court date, or this day he didn't have a babysitter, and he'd already told the person who was originally making a schedule, but that person didn't note it down and didn't transfer the information to you. So make sure you have all this information in place, just in case. Now, lastly, the one I'd like to mention is making sure you have the proper tools to get the job done. Now, I always walk around with a multi-tool. This is a Gerber multi-tool. I always walk around because it saves my butt day in and day out. It's got a knife if I need to cut something. I'm always cutting string. I'm opening boxes. It's got a little plier if I need to tighten a little screw. It's got screwdrivers. It's got bottle openers, can openers. A lot of things that are very useful in this. Same with scheduling and anything you really do. You want to be looking for anything that can really assist you in the job. You know, this did cost me over $50, but it's paid for itself. So investing in scheduling software can be very, very helpful. There are two that I highly recommend. I've used many scheduling software out there. One that I'm going to mention, what's called When I Work. When I Work is free for up to, I believe, 50 or 70 employees for their super basic free version, which doesn't do a whole lot other than scheduling. But it's nice because if you're a small company who can't afford to pay a monthly fee or annual fee, free is great. Gets you in the door, it gets you scheduling working. You know, you can put in schedule requests. It's easily drag and drop. You know, you can put in parameters and all this kind of stuff. It's a great software for its price. And they do have paid versions as well that gives you additional things such as texting the staff schedule and stuff like that. But my ultimate favorite is called Shift Notes. Shift Notes is probably one of the most reasonably priced scheduling softwares I've seen out there. And another thing I love about it, aside from the fact that it is simple, easy to use, and cheap, is it is like a multi-tool. It has all kinds of customizability there. I found the staff to be super helpful with setting it up. They've gone ahead and set it up. You know, I had like 300 plus employees working at one place. They helped me, you know, import all the data, set up the system just the way I want it. And I say it's like a multi-tool because it has a ton of stuff in there. It has your basic scheduling in there. It has, you can push notifications, you can push schedules, you can push training material. So you can set it so when the staff looks at the training material that you sent them on the app, that it will notify you and mark it as read by individual. So it's like a read receipt. So you know that they've read the training material and you can hold them to it, which I find to be very, very helpful. It has manager log capability, so you can tie it into your POS and let it, you know, send out a manager logs, task lists for your management team or maintenance team. All is in there. I find that to be extremely helpful. Please do check it out. Again, I am not endorsed by either of these software. I just think they're phenomenal. And if you would like to see a review of these two softwares, let me know. I'll consider that. Leave a comment down below and I'll take that into consideration. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Leave down in the comments your thoughts, your comments, and if your struggles or even your successes, you know, what has been helpful for you with creating schedules. Let us know down in the comment down below. I love to read that kind of stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.